Hey there, this is Lee, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to lose weight with bodyweight strength training alone. Alright guys, let's dive right in. And if you don't have 5 minutes to watch this video, then by all means go watch another cat video. But for real, this video could help you with the next 20 years of your life. Okay? And so what we're going to do right now is take you right into the whiteboard of truth and strength, and we're going to get started. And make sure you stay until the end, because if you do, then I'm going to show you the exact formula you need to know. And in addition to that, make sure you subscribe. And if you do that, then I'm able to target you and send you free trainings that are worth literally years of trial and error. Okay, guys? So make sure to do that, and then we're going to dive into the training here. So as we get started, okay, the first thing that we're going to do is take a look at number one, the brain, how that works. Okay, so this is the first thing. So just kind of how the brain works. All right, you guys. And there's all of these, as we dive in deeper into the brain, there's these neurons, okay, and they look kind of like this. So this would be kind of like a neuron. And then what happens is there's this myelinated sheath, okay, this long sort of, it's these distances are really short, but on this path here, okay, what'll happen is there's these little dendrites at the end here, and these little receptor sites, okay. So over here, right here, here, and then over here is another neuron, okay. So these neurons are connected, and what's interesting is that they're connected by these gaps, okay. And so here's another neuron path, all right. And inside of this gap right here, okay, inside of this gap, it's called a synaptic cleft. And there's all these little neurotransmitters is what they're called, and they float around in here, okay. And oftentimes, all right, what happens is with regard to the brain, okay, and our mind and just how we think about things, there's a major roadblock that'll occur, and we're just going to look at one today, okay. And I'm just going to call this one just kind of mental pain, all right. And that's where all pain is anyway. So even if you have an injury, something that's acute, there will be a lag time. Like I'm sure that you've seen, or maybe you've experienced when an injury occurs and the pain is so severe that there's lag time for the brain to catch up between what it feels and the injury site. And so there'll be a lag time, and then there's the tears, or then there's the scream or whatever. So all pain happens inside of the brain, but what we're dealing with today is kind of on the level of just doing difficult things that makes anything from weight loss to accomplishing a skill to anything just difficult, okay. There's going to be mental pain, and then as that is exacerbated, it can turn into long-term things like depression or anxiety or fear, all of these kind of things, just mental anguish, all right. So we're just looking at that, and the cause of that, partly is, and we'll just talk about one of these today, is serotonin, okay. All right, so that's these little guys in here, okay, and these things will float around, and oftentimes what'll happen is there might be too much, there might be too little, okay. These, if there's a lot of brain fog is a symptom that these receptor sites on the end of the neuron are not adequately picking up the neurotransmitters that are floating around. So there can be, basically, this is all paraphrase, okay. This is very shorthand, all right. If you want a whole course in neurology, then go take there's plenty of videos, right, and you can dive deeper. But for the purposes of this is just a paraphrase, okay. And so what'll happen is there'll be an imbalance, okay. long story short, there's an imbalance. All right? And so that's what we have to recognize first, is that there are neurochemicals in play here that we have to consider, okay? And oftentimes what will be prescribed, all right, are these things called SSRIs, okay? All right, and these act as reuptake inhibitors so that the serotonin can basically be smoothed out, okay? And so we can get just a balancing out. What happens is oftentimes whenever you look at these, a lot of medications, if you look at the side effects, there'll be things like weight gain and stuff like that, not just SSRI, but all kinds of other things, okay? And so it's very, very important to take a look at what is being consumed, what is being put into the brain, okay, into the body, into the brain. And that goes not just for medications, all right, not just medications, but also, what other toxins are being put in. So I'll tell you this, like social media, okay, and then just drama and all that kind of stuff. All of these toxins can go in and they can mess with the brain and then mess with the body. But what medications do specifically is that they'll actually have an impact on your basal metabolic rate. And we'll discuss what that is in a moment. But your BMR is basically just how hot your body burns in order to stay alive. That's basically like how many calories burn for the necessities to be maintained. Okay, so we'll discuss that whenever we dive into the formula later. But the main thing for this first point about the brain is that you need to, so exercise and working out, all right, actually has a balancing effect on serotonin levels as well. Okay, so there are passive treatments. That's what I call passive treatments: medications, massages, chiropractics. All right, acupuncture. Okay, they all have their place. I'm not downplaying any of those things. They have their place, definitely. Surgery, all of those are passive. You just kind of there, like, okay, like fix me, right? That's the only one side of the coin. Okay, so here's my coin. All right. Yay. Okay, so then that's a passive treatment. On the other side of that coin is the active stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about for point number 2. Okay, so working out, training the body improves mental health. Okay, it balances out serotonin. It does a whole lot of other things as well. All right, so what we're going to do is create a new sheet really quick. Okay, zoom in on that. All right. Actually, we'll go ahead and just erase everything really fast. All right, so we'll get the board cleaned up really quick. And then, so like I said, the second point is going to be about the physical training. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at that right now. So number 2 is going to be the training of the body, which does involve training of the mind, okay? So it starts with discipline, all right? Starts with discipline. But now just, being realistic, like we have these bodies that we want to transform, right? And so you might have any number of goals, okay? The number one thing that I've heard from time and time again is that it's not really about the strength. So you can go to the weight room all you want to. You can lift all these weights. You can do all these various things. But if you are not doing this one thing, then it's going to have detrimental impact, and doing this one thing will actually save you a lot of time and energy and a lot of mental anguish in the long run. So the one thing that, and then we'll go into the formula in just a second, but the one thing that I wanted to discuss was the flexibility. Okay, flexibility. And then that becomes mobility, your ability to move. Okay, if a person can't move, there's a lot of stress. All right, people, they get knots in their muscle tissue, and I mean, just imagine, after, let's say like this, kind of like this, like if you take a long road trip, all right, and you just been on the road for hours and hours and hours, and then you get out of the car, how does it feel? I mean, there's got to be like a sweet relief because you can move, but at the same time, if you're cramped up in that car and you like confined and it's just frustrating. And then you get out of the car and then your back might be hurting, your legs might be numb, you know, like all these different things. And so those things are hard to deal with. So the more mobile you can become, the better you're going to feel. And then what we do is add strength to that, okay? So this, usually what happens is it's done backwards, all right? People usually start here, over here, and then go in the reverse order. Here's what happens. So let's say that this is a range of motion just for your shoulder, okay? So the arm can move in a, you know, an almost a 300 in a spherical direction, all right? It can move almost in that whole, but we're just going to break it down to 360 degrees just for simplicity's sake. So let's say that you've got 360 degree range of motion in your shoulder joint, okay? Let's say that you can only move it this much, all right? Just what's in here, okay? So like if you make an arm circle or something like that, or you grab a, you know, you do like this here, I'll just draw it. So if you've got your body here, and then you've got your hands here, all right, and then your arms like this, and you just sort of holding maybe a towel or something like this, okay? And how close together can you make your hands and then turn your arms all the way over and put them behind your back? All right, so that's your range of motion, just kind of on a passive level, okay? There's a little bit of strength involved, I know. But let's say that's as much as the range of motion that you have. Like maybe your arms are, you know, way out here, that's where you're holding it, okay? And then let's say that you go to the gym and maybe you're doing the row machine, or maybe you're doing the, you know, just dumbbell flies or whatever, and you're building up strength in here, okay? So now this is kind of, you have some strength through here, all right? Because you're able to move there on your own. But this is at risk for injury, and so is this, okay? Like right in here, this is a major injury zone. And then that's what people do, is they build all this strength through here. They think they're strong, and then they have a little bit more range of motion that they can go into, but then they wonder why they're getting chronic injuries or acute injuries, okay, depending on their flexibility. So that's a huge one, is building out the flexibility and then turning that into mobility and then turning that into strength. And so again, if I drew this circle, okay, so let's say that you're able to do, your hands are right here, like really close together, okay, and you're able to do that full range of motion. Then you have this whole 360 degrees, all right, just paraphrasing, okay, this is really like 30,000 foot view here. So then you have the range of motion, all right, so you've got, so this would be, so if we were to label this 1, 2, and 3. So this is 1 and 2 and 3, okay? So now this was the injury zone, right? So now instead of that being the injury zone, we actually have our flexibility built, okay? That's 1. Then we have our mobility, that's 2. And then we have the strength overlaid on top of that, that's 3. So we're having this whole thing built out in all angles, all right? So that's key. Now here is the big finale to your physical training, okay? Just sticking with just that sort of resistance training, which is, you know, pretty typical, and then plussing the cardio, all right? That's like typical working out, right? Okay, so that's like very, very, very basic level. Then you have the building of the skill, okay? And this is just repetitive actions to build a skill, okay? So not bouncing around through a bunch of different exercises in a workout, right? So like there's got to be that focused thing. You know, if it's just like these huge rounds of all of these crazy moves, and you're adding this and doing that and jumping around and all over the place, then it's more cardio, but it's not really building the muscle tissue. And so the more muscle tissue that you have, okay, the more skill you can build, the more the whole body transforms, all right? And then you can start playing. And you can, you know, you don't even have to warm up anymore at a certain point just to hop up into a handstand, or, you know, hop around from one to the other, or, you know, do a handstand and then hop down and do a backflip. That's just flowing. That's just moving, okay? So what you need to do is build the flexibility, then the mobility, then the strength, then that eventually turns into skill, and then it transforms the body. All right, so now to the whole thing here with the formula. All right. Okay. So the formula. So this is, so we use the catch. You guys can look this up, catch McCardle. Okay. And what it looks like is this, you know, your BMR, all right, equals 370 plus 9.7976 times LBM, as your lean body mass, okay, calories per day. All right, so then there's calculators and stuff that you can find where you can plug in what your weight would be in lean body mass, all right, and then that will give you your basal metabolic rate, okay, and then that gives you the amount of calories at that point that you can eat and literally just sit and then lose weight. But again, this is where it becomes, there's a catch here, okay? No pun intended. But if let's say that a person's on like 3 to 4 medications, all right? Or let's say that there's stress from, you know, high performance job or something like that, or running around in a lot of children, or going through pregnancies, okay? All of these things can mess with the basal metabolic rate to where it's not as cut and dry as that, okay? And that's where, like, you know, customizing and tweaking meal plans and all those sort of things come in. There's a lot of pieces like that. But just to recap, so, you know, there's the first point was like the brain, okay, making sure that the serotonin levels, you know, and you're doing the physical activity and not depending on these other things. And again, I'm not downplaying any of those other pieces. They are vital, all right? They're extremely vital and important, but making sure that you're also doing the physical training to help with that and to allow the mental anguish, the pain, anxiety, depression, fear, all those things, okay, to deal with those, all right? And then the training, you know, the flexibility, mobility, and strength. And then 3, you know, your basal metabolic rate, and knowing what your numbers are. All right, guys, so that is it, and I'll see you in the next video.